Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm Father Bill Stanton from St. Albans Episcopal Church, and I'm out on my deck on this beautiful summer day. Just came from doing errands, and I know I missed this morning's Psalter reading. So we're going to do both morning prayer and evening prayer, Psalms for today, which means we're going to be doing all the Psalms up until from 75 to 79. So, let's just calm ourselves. We're on the 15th day, and we're Psalm 55, page 691. We give thanks to you, O God. We give you thanks, calling upon your name and declaring all your wonderful deeds. I will appoint a time, says God. I will judge with equity. Though the pillars and all its inhabitants are quaking, I will make its pillars fast. I will say to the boasters, boast no more, and to the wicked, do not toss your horns. Do not toss your horns so high, nor speak with a proud neck. For judgment is neither from the east nor from the west, nor yet from the wilderness or the mountains. It is God who judges. He puts down one and lifts up another. For in the Lord's hand there is a cup full of spiced and foaming wine, which he pours out, and all the wicked of the earth shall drink and drain the dregs. But I will rejoice forever. I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. He shall break off all the horns of the wicked, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. Psalm 76. In Judah God is known. His name is great in Israel. At Salem is his tabernacle, and his dwelling is in Zion. There he broke the flashing arrows, the shield, the swords, and the weapons of battle. How glorious you are, more splendid than the everlasting mountains. The strong of heart have been despoiled. They sink into sleep. None of the warriors can lift a hand. At your rebuke, O God of Jacob, both horse and rider lie stunned. What terror you inspire! Who can stand before you when you are angry? From heaven you pronounced judgment. The earth was afraid and was still. When God rose up to judgment and to save all the oppressed of the earth, truly wrathful Edom will give you thanks, and the remnant of Hamath will keep your feasts. Make a vow to the Lord your God and keep it. Let all around him bring gifts to him who is worthy to be feared. He breaks the spirit of princes and strikes terror in the kings of the earth. Psalm 77. I will cry aloud to God. I will cry aloud, and he will hear me. In the day of my trouble I sought the Lord. My hands were stretched out by night and did not tire. I refused to be comforted. I think of God. I am restless. I ponder, and my spirit faints. You will not let my eyelids close. I am troubled, and I cannot speak. I consider the days of old. I remember the years long past. I commune with my heart in the night. I ponder and search my mind. Will the Lord cast me off forever? Will he no more show his favor? Has his loving kindness come to an end forever? Has his promise failed forevermore? Has God forgotten to be gracious? Has he in his anger withheld his compassion? And I said, my grief is this: the right hand of the Most High has lost its power. I will remember the works of the Lord and call to mind your wonders of old time. I will meditate on all your acts and ponder your mighty deeds. Your way, O God, is holy. Who is so great as God, as our God? You are the God who works wonders, and you have declared your power among the peoples. By your strength you have redeemed your people, the children of Jacob and Joseph. The waters saw you, O God. The waters saw you and trembled. The very depths were shaken. The clouds poured out. The skies thundered. Your arrows flashed to and fro. The sound of your thunder was in the whirlwind. Your lightnings lit up the world. The earth trembled and shook. Your way was in the sea, and your paths as in the great waters. yet your footsteps were not seen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. Those were our morning psalms that, because of an appointment this morning, I wasn't able to share with you. So now we'll begin our evening psalms for this 15th day of June. Psalm 78, Part 1. Hear my teaching, O my people. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will declare the mysteries of ancient times, that which we have heard and known, and what our forefathers have told us. He will not hide from their children. We will not fret. That which we have heard and known, and what our forefathers have told us, we will not hide from their children. We will recount to generations to come the praiseworthy deeds and the power of the Lord, and the wonderful works he has done. He gave his decrees to Jacob, and established a law for Israel, which he commanded them to teach their children, that the generations might come might know, and the children yet unborn, that they in their turn might tell it to their children, so that they might put their trust in God, and not forget the deeds of God, but keep his commandments, and not be like their forefathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation of whose heart was not steadfast, and whose spirit was not faithful to God. The people of Ephraim, armed with the bow, turned back in the day of battle. They did not keep the covenant of God, and refused to walk in his law. They forgot what he had done, and the wonders he had shown them. He worked marvels in the sight of their forefathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zon. He split open the sea and let them pass through. He made the waters stand up like walls. He led them with a cloud by day, and all the night through with a glow of fire. He split the rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink as from great deep. He brought streams out of the cliff, and the waters gushed out like rivers. But they went on sinning against him, and rebelling in the desert against the Most High. They tested God in their hearts, demanding food for their craving. They railed against God and said, "Can God set a table in the wilderness? True, he struck the rock, and the waters gushed out, and the gullies overflowed. But is he able to give bread, or to provide meat for his people?" When the Lord heard this, he was full of wrath. A fire was kindled against Jacob, and his anger mounted against Israel. For they had no faith in God, nor did they put their trust in his saving power. So he commanded the clouds above, and opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna upon them to eat, and gave them grain from heaven. So mortals ate the bread of angels. He provided for them food enough. He caused the east wind to blow in the heavens, and led out the south wind by his might. He rained down flesh upon them like dust, and winged birds like the sand of the sea. He let it fall in the midst of their camp, and round about their dwellings. So they ate and were well filled, for he gave them what they craved. But they did not stop their craving, though the food was still in their mouths. So God's anger mounted against them. He slew their strongest men and laid low the youth of Israel. In spite of all this, they went on sinning and had no faith in his wonderful works. So he brought their days to an end like a breath, and their years in sudden terror. Whenever he slew them, they would seek him and repent and diligently search for God. They would remember that God was their rock and the Most High God their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouths and lied to him with their tongues. Their heart was not steadfast toward him, and they were not faithful to his covenant. But he was so merciful that he forgave their sins and did not destroy them. Many times he held back his anger and did not permit his wrath to be roused. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a breath that goes forth and does not return. Psalm 78, Part 2. How often the people disobeyed him in the wilderness and offended him in the desert. Again and again they tempted God and provoked the Holy One of Israel. They did not remember his power in the day when he ransomed them from the enemy, how he wrought his signs in Egypt and his omens in the field of Zoan. He turned their rivers to blood so that they could not drink of their streams. He sent swarms of flies among them, which ate them up, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave their crops to the caterpillar, the fruit of their toil to the locust. He killed their vines with hail, and their sycamores with frost. He delivered their cattle to hailstones, and their livestock to hot thunderbolts. He poured out upon them his blazing anger, fury, indignation, and distress, a troop of destroying angels. He gave full rein to his anger, and did not spare their souls from death, but delivered their... He struck down all the firstborn of Egypt, the flower of manhood in the dwellings of Ham. He led out his people like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them in safety, and they were not afraid, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. He brought them to his holy land. The mountain of his right hand had won. He drove out the Canaanites before him, and apportioned an inheritance to them by lot. He made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. But they tested the Most High God and defied him, and did not keep his commandments. They turned away and were disloyal like their fathers. They were undependable like a warped bow. They grieved him with their hill altars, and provoked his displeasure with their idols. When he heard this, he was angry and utterly rejected Israel. He forsook the sign at Shiloh, the tabernacle where he lived among his people. He delivered the ark into captivity, his glory into the adversary's hand. He gave his people to the sword, and was angered against his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men. There was no wedding songs for their maidens. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Lord woke, as though from sleep, like a warrior refreshed with wine. He struck his enemies on the backside and put them to perpetual shame. He rejected the tent of Joseph and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim. Instead, he chose instead the tribe of Judah and Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the heavens. He built his sanctuary like the heights of heaven, and the earth which he founded forever. He chose David his servant, and took him away from the sheepfolds. He brought him from following the ewes to be a shepherd over Jacob his people, and over Israel his inheritance. So he shepherded them with a faithful and true heart, and guided them with the skillfulness of his hands. Beloved, that is our morning and evening psalms for this 15th day of June. Psalm 78, which is a thing for us to remember the great works of God and all that he has done for his chosen people, his people of Israel. And so, beloved, I hope you have a blessed evening this night. It's starting to get cool. It was warm today. Holy moly. And I saw a fox right as I was leaving the house this morning, trouncing through our front lawn. They are beautiful creatures. And so, beloved, I hope you have a blessed night. May God set his angels charge over your sleep and bring you peace. Have a blessed evening, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:30. I promise.